So I read Homesick the other day, and let me tell you, it was a roller coaster. But I happen to love a good roller coaster, and this is no exception. Every gosh heckin' episode ends with me saying, it's all over, it's all over, but then the next episode hits, and we're so back. Sup, my name's Jesse. You can call me Jesse. I just read Homesick. Let's talk about it. First of all, for you filthy bozos who haven't read it, we won't talk about spoilers just yet. Instead, what we will talk about is vibes. And the vibe I get is friggin' stressful. Like these characters don't get to breathe for a second. Author, Miss Freaky, when do the characters get their beach episode for real? But seriously, the plot seems very deliberate and well thought out. It clearly had a beginning and an end, at least that's what I think. I appreciate the natural progression of the cast and the development of the characters, especially how they learn to trust or distrust one another, even when it's bad for their situation overall. And I like how even as a spectator, I'm fully invested in these characters. There's been a lot of care put into getting you immersed in this cruel world, and it shows. And again, just like the last video, I have no artistic skill, but I do really like the art style for this comic. The color palette especially really sets it apart right from the get-go. I really like the pretty purples. Purple is a nice color. And now, back to you clean, spotless bozos who have read the story. Let's talk about spoilers. Again, we're talking about spoilers. If you have not read it, leave now, spend an evening reading the comic over on Webtoon for free, and come back. Again, not being paid to say this, I just really like Webtoons. Now let's talk about the plot. Earlier I mentioned how it feels more cohesive, and how I think it was very planned out. Well, what the hell do I mean by this? Okay, I'm editing, but I'm going to interject here. I was looking for screenshots, and here, in this early episode, I found this cool little foreshadowing moment. The little boy is going through exactly what Kenny's going through right now. He goes into a little coma. He's like a sick boy. His mother's like going to give up on him, and then he wakes up. He's presumably agreed with his merc. He shook the hand, and now... He's infected. It's just like Kenny. It's really cool foreshadowing, and I didn't notice this, and I just saw this, and I had to throw it in here. It feels more cohesive, and how I think it was very planned out. Well, what the hell do I mean by this? The story is naturally ramped up from being nearly alone in the apocalypse to the uneasy, tight-knit community of the house, mafia, cult thing, to now being this larger society where we're getting answers from people who actually know the details of the apocalypse. It adds tension and it adds context throughout the story, which I really like. I also really like the time jump between the first and second season. I didn't really like it while reading, but with hindsight, it gave more time for character growth that you don't really get sometimes with Webtoons. Webtoons by nature need at least something interesting to happen each episode, and with such short episodes, there really doesn't feel like there's time for the characters to just be themselves and spend 2 months together. And speaking of which, I haven't even talked about the wonderful characters. Now, first of all, I am so sorry for the pronunciation of all the names. I mean, my wonderful wisdom read Samuel for half the damn comic. I was so confused when I finally read Samuel? Oatmeal? I don't know, bro. I'm just gonna read my script, and if you have the correct pronunciations, just drop them in the comments and help a brother out. Anyway, I really like the characters in this. Rain is so wonderfully mysterious, which is the best part of characters with amnesia. I've even seen someone in the Webtoon comments suggest that Rain isn't even Rain, but instead the girl Rain was dating before the apocalypse. I don't know, bro. Sounds like a wild theory, but I'm also in the Deltarune fandom, so it isn't that hard to believe. I think Kenny is my favorite character. I like his attitude. I mean, he's the most like Aiden from School Bus Graveyard in my opinion, so of course he's the GOAT. I just really want to know why he was in prison, because judging by some of the flashbacks, we see that Kenny was always at least kind of chill. Maybe he's got some secrets, perhaps. It's all very interesting. I really like Kenny's attitude with the merc that infected him. Bro really got infected by a dangerous creature and said, nuh-uh. He would rather sit in his own mind and troll this merc and die than take some cool superpowers. At least in the latest episode, he has decided to go with the merc. I'm excited to see what superpower he gets and how his relationship with his own merc goes, which also brings me to another cool thing, Rain's merc. He introduced himself as a guardian angel, and that's how I view him. He's the internal monologue that Rain can turn to when she needs. But at the same time, he's a merc. He's a bad guy, and so every time he speaks, I don't fully trust him. Another character I really like is Gressel. Now, if you've heeded my spoiler warning and actually read the story, you would know how outlandish that take is. I mean, bro is a freak. Plus, earlier in the story, he literally tortured the main character. But now that he's back with no memory of it all, I honestly think he's going to be a good asset to the group. I mean, he's shown that he views Rain as a literal god, and you don't get much more loyal than literal worship. So I hope, that he's gonna have the craziest character arc and be a key to saving Rain or something. Or maybe he'll sacrifice himself for the greater good. I don't know, man. I just think the freaky gremlin is funny. And finally, I know I said I think Kenny is my favorite character, but I know Ogre really is my favorite character. I mean, the second you introduce a pet character, I'm locked the heck in, alright? And if we're talking about Ogre, we gotta talk about my least favorite episode, episode 58. Alright, the second I clicked on the friggin' episode and saw, warning, this episode contains animal gore and violence, or whatever, I knew what was happening. I literally took a break from the comic to listen to Mice on Venus from the Minecraft soundtrack to calm down because I was dreading continuing the episode. Long story short, I don't care how much you can improve the story by killing off an animal character. I don't care for it, and if they didn't bring Ogre back to life, I don't think I would have been able to finish the comic. But they did end up bringing Ogre back to life, so good comic. Alright, enough of my attachment to a fictional cat. Let's briefly talk about the world of Homesick. This world has been taken over by mercs. Pretty much your standard abandoned apocalypse setting, which I approve of. It isn't really the focus. Instead, I think the more interesting part of this world are the mercs. From the start of the story, we as readers are taught that you are not allowed to trust this world. With Alexander, this little gentleman is actually the friggin' devil because he's infected. He seems so innocent and then he's not. This is awesome storytelling. I can tell you now, I never trusted another new character after this unless they proved themselves. This got me so much more immersed in the world. It was like I was another character in the story deciding if I trust others or not. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about this and all I can be bothered to edit. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I have to say I'm really excited to see where the story goes, and who knows, maybe sometime I'll return to webtoons I've talked about in the past to talk about the story later on. Either way, if you've enjoyed this, subscribe. I put a lot of effort into these videos, and if you have not seen it already, I made a video about school bus graveyards, so check that out too. Bye-bye.